Today I want Karamveer to please introduce respected senior. All right. And please, Karamveer, you could start. Right. Please introduce Ullas sir.
Okay, sir. Yeah, okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our platform. And I would like to thank Anil, sir, for this opportunity. And also, since he's given me this opportunity, sir, I would like to thank you for organizing such seminars and, inviting such esteemed speakers. I'm sure it has contributed, their knowledge has contributed to everyone in some or other way. Uh, so let me just start. So today's guest speaker, as we all know, is Mr. Ullas sir. He has already been on our platform before. He took a session on stock market, which he made it. I think there was a brilliant explanation, very easy to understand also for new people, trying to understand finance. So welcome, sir. I'll just take a minute to read about sir's profile. So Ullas sir is a freelancer in the field of training in financial markets. The name of some of the institutions where he has provided training are Deutsche Bank, Citigroup, Credit Suisse, BNP Paribas, DShaw, DBS Bank, SunGard, Symphony, Fidelity, Royal Bank Scotland, Multi Commodity Exchange, ICICI Securities, IndusInd Bank. Prior to becoming a trainer in financial market, Ullas sir was a banker for almost 25 years. Having worked at Development Bank of Singapore as head treasury, Oman International Bank as head treasury, his areas of specialization are foreign exchange market, money market, derivatives market, equity market, fixed income, etc. And other areas of interest which I also started following after sir's this has inspired me also are training for physical fitness and marathon running. So welcome, sir. Welcome again. We are
Thank you.
looking for another great session.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
Ullas sir, with your permission.
Yeah.
So who is the gentleman who introduced them? Shanti ma'am, my humble request is this time Ullas sir wants to open it up. So once I finish speaking, you can open it up, let everybody speak. Ullas sir prefers it like that. All right. So who introduced, who is the gentleman who introduced a dear respected senior Ullas sir? I'll take 2 minutes. It's important. So one thing I've learned from Ullas sir apart is professional success. If you would have noticed, moment I saw Ullas sir, I smiled out of happiness. A lot of learnings that I've got from Ullas sir. One thing was you should not be the rich man in the grave. Enjoy life. Second thing that sir has said about health, which to an extent I'm following, but I think I should be more serious, is that don't focus on your health till you are pushed into doing it. Do it when you want to do it. Third, he likes to go gymming, and I asked him, sir, gymming. He said, I love to be among youngsters. And I have never seen Abhishek Biyani respond so very well, but with Ullas sir, there was one remark which I have never seen Abhishek, right? Was LOL, lots of love. So last session went off so very well that I requested sir to come back. And this time I requested Karamveer to introduce. Now, Karamveer comes from the prestigious family who are into ethnic wear, brand Nari. They are into online also, right? They are basically the business family is into manufacturing and export of embroidered fabric and garment fabrics for women's apparel for various international brands, right? As education. So please note if anybody is into textiles, women wear, I would like you all to get connected with dear Karamveer. He is an MBA, right? And before doing his GFMB program, he has done VBA with specialization in finance. And of course, the kid was with me in SP Jain School of Global Management. But of course, it doesn't matter. For me, SP Jain is SP Jain. It's just that my location has changed. With this, I open up the forum. Ma'am, for a change, and since sir wants it, please let everybody speak. Please let everybody speak. The sir wants to have it as an interactive session. Right? Over to you, respected sir. A pleasure as always.
Thank you very much, Anil sir, and thank you very much, Karamveer.
Thank you, sir.
Now we go ahead with our program. Today we are going to talk about bond market. Now, generally, what I have seen is this: people are not that fascinated by the bond market as they are by the share market. ये share market में they feel there is कुछ धमाल हो रहा है, लेकिन bond market seems to be something very serious. That's what general view in the market is. So therefore, today it's bond market. And before I start bond market, which some people, let me reiterate, some people think that bond market is something very serious. Now, serious means you can lose money and make money in share market. You can lose money and make money in bond market also. Because just as shares are traded, bonds are also traded in the market. Before we go ahead and understand a few aspects of the bond market, think about this for a minute. There are two statements here. First one is complete, the second one is not complete. First one says risk takers eat well. Second one says risk averse people dash dash. Now you have to fill in these blanks. Tell you whatever you think about this. What is this dash dash? Risk takers eat well, risk averse people sleep well. And why am I showing you this is because in equity, that is in share market, when you invest, there is a greater risk as compared to if you invest the money in a bond market, comparatively lesser risk. So if you are a risk taker, think about the equity market. If you are risk averse, maybe consider investing in the bond market. Again, let me check with you. I opened up another document on the screen. Are you able to see it? It says what is a bond, coupon, yield, indenture.
Yes, yes, sir.
Bond is comparatively less volatile as compared to shares. Shares are more volatile. In shares, when you invest money, you can make good money. You can also lose big time. In bonds also, you can invest money. You may make good profit of it. You may sometimes lose in a bond market. That is only for those who are trading in the bond market. If you are buying a bond and remaining invested in that bond during the tenor of the bond, then there is no question of you losing money. There may be some opportunity costs. So we'll come to all that now. Because first of all, let me check with you. Because in case there is somebody who is not at all familiar with what is a bond. So let me start from there. What is a bond? Is there any query on that as to what is meant by a bond? Companies issue bonds, governments issue bonds, financial institutions issue bonds.
Saurabh.
But are you clear with what is a bond? Because company can issue shares, company can issue a bond.
Saurabh beta, sir, I think you should. Saurabh beta, आपको answer पता है? What is a bond?
It's something like a promissory note.
Yeah, correct. So it's a promise note. It's a promise to pay back. It says, that means, let's go to a very, very basic thing first. Company wants money for business. There are various ways in which they can raise money. One way is share, other way is bond. But share money is the equity capital of the company. Each shareholder, as we have spoken earlier, is a part owner in the company. So you are a part owner in the company if you have purchased the shares of a company. But when company raised money and gave you a bond, it's different because it's a borrowing for the company. Company is borrowing money from you. And because company is borrowing money from you under that bond, they have to return the money to you. So bond will have some tenor saying that this is a 5-year bond or 10-year bond, which means company or any other issuer, let me not say company, because it could be a municipality, it could be a government, it could be a financial institution. Anybody can raise money and issue a bond. It's a debt. For the company, it's a debt. Debt is D-E-B-T. Debt means borrowed money. So this money is to be paid. When a company raises money by issuing shares, that's not a debt because that is company's own money because it's the shareholders' money. And each shareholder is a part owner in the company. Therefore, very quickly, I'm checking a few things just to see whether we are all okay with this or not. What is the maturity date for a share? Because bonds will have a maturity date, the 10-year bond, 15-year bond, 25-year bond. What is the maturity date on a share? When are you going to get the money back if you have purchased a share from a company?
The day I sell.
Correct. You can sell. Are you going to get it back from the company? Is there any maturity date on the share? Because on the bond, there is a specific maturity date saying that this is a 25-year bond. The company will return the money to you after 25 years on a bond. Is there such a maturity date on the share? That's the point here. That
unless they buy it back.
Correct. One possibility that you will get the money back from the company in case of a share is if the company decides to buy back the shares from you. That is just as company issued the shares to you and took the money from you. Same way company said, I'm going to buy back some shares from the market, therefore I will return the money. So in that case, you may get the money back from the company, but there is no maturity date for the share. That buyback is a program. So after a couple of years, depending on quite a few things, company may decide that, okay, we can buy back some shares from the market. But in the beginning, when the shares are issued, you don't know the maturity date, because on the share, there is no maturity date. Share capital is perpetual. That means forever. The only way in which you can get the money back from the company normally is by selling the share, unless company goes for a buyback, or if the company goes in liquidation and company has got some money left to be paid to the shareholders. In that case, you may get the money back from the company. But bond is different. Bond is borrowed money. That is, company is borrowing money. Company is a borrower, or the issuer, let's call it issuer, not a company. The issuer of the bond is a borrower of money, and the buyer of the bond is a lender of money. Then right in front of that first point, it says IOU. Because normally in the financial world, that three alphabets, IOU, that stands for I is I, O is OWE, and U is YOU. IOU. Who is telling whom? IOU. Company is telling the issuer is telling the investor that you have given the money to me. I owe you. That means I have to return the money to you. Coupon, that is interest on the bond, and the principal on maturity. So therefore, that is a bond. Nothing but borrowing money. Issuer borrows money, and the bond buyer lends money to the issuer.
Sir, then what is the difference between a loan and a bond?
Loan and a bond is same, because in both cases, when you are taking loan, like you take a loan from a bank, so that also is a money that is to be returned. Or if the company takes loan from a bank, that is also a debt. So in both cases, if a company is issuing a bond, that means they have borrowed money which is to be repaid. And when company takes a loan from a bank, that also is a money which they have borrowed from the bank, which is to be repaid. So therefore, both are debt for the company which is issuing the bond or taking the loan. There are two ways. Either you can raise money by issuing a bond, or you can borrow money from the bank. That also you are taking money from the bank. Now, when you, as far as loan is concerned, it will be from one bank or two banks or three banks that the company can take, or more banks. Here, the bond holders could be many, because company may raise, say, 100 crore by issuing a bond, and there may be many bond holders who would have given money to the company. So there will be a number of lenders in case of bond. Whereas when you take a loan, normally it may be just one lender or two lender or three lender, but the underlying point is the same. That is, in both cases, the issuer or the company is borrowing money. Yeah, there is a question here which Saurabh is asking, sir, isn't the bond more expensive for the company? Now it depends, may or may not be, because the question is what all formalities are required to be completed. Because in case of a bond, or in case when the company takes a loan, if the interest rate that is to be paid by the company for borrowing money is more or less the same, then what it comes to is the administrative expenses. Administrative expenses, for example, if it's a secured bond, then you'll have to create a charge on the assets of the company. Similarly, when you take loan from a bank and you are providing the bank with your assets as security, then there also some expenses might be there. The marketing of the bond, maybe marketing the bond will involve higher cost, possible. So such factors will have to be considered when you think about whether you want to raise money by going to a bank, or whether you want to raise money by issuing a bond. Now, banks could have some restrictions as to how much money they will lend to a corporate. They may have some kind of a limitation. That's as to how much will X bank lend to ABC corporate. Possible. But in bonds may not be, because bond is a general permission that the issuer takes from the regulator. Because when bonds are issued, the issuer has to first take the approval from the regulator. In our case, it is SEBI. So the issuer has to go to the SEBI and take the approval that this is the money that I want to raise. And in that approval, let's say prospectus for the bond, it's called prospectus. So the company has to file a prospectus with the regulator before issuing the bond, and after submitting the prospectus, they have to get the approval from the regulator. In the prospectus, the company will have to provide all the information to the regulator as to why they are raising the bond, what is the tenor, what is the purpose of this money, where will it be deployed, what is the profitability on that money, etc., etc. So yes, the administrative procedure could be different for bond and loan a bit, because in case of loan, you don't have to go to any regulator. Loan is purely an arrangement between a lender and a borrower. That is a bank and the company which is borrowing money. Okay, what is Dr. Vinod is asking, where is the risk in a bond and debt fund? Right, correct. Let me clarify this point. That's a very pertinent point. Where is the risk in a bond? The risk in a bond, one, is for the trader who is trading in the bond market. That is buying and selling bonds, because bonds are also traded in the market just as shares are traded. But the shares have great depth. There is much greater liquidity in the share market. Liquidity means there are many participants in the share market for buying and selling as compared to bond market. So in bond market, there aren't too many participants buying and selling, and especially in the context of the Indian market, government bonds are pretty actively traded. Government bonds issued by the government. Corporate bonds lack depth. So corporate bonds are not that actively traded at all in the context of the Indian market. So I will come to your question, where is the risk in the bond? Now we'll talk about this. Just give me a few moments, Dr. Vinod. We'll talk about this as to where is the risk in a bond. But before that, let's understand the two terms over here, coupon and yield. They are all required for our understanding in order that we connect finally all the dots. By the time we finish, we'll be able to connect all the dots and we'll get a good picture about what is this bond market and how it operates. Therefore, just little patience required. I'm going ahead in the meantime. Coupon and yield, these are the two terms that you will come across very regularly in the bond market, and we are now going to understand what is the difference between the two, coupon and yield. Coupon is nothing but the interest which the issuer of the bond, that is borrower of money, pays to the lender of money. That's called coupon. It is nothing but interest, because the borrower is borrowing money, lender is lending money, so borrower must pay interest to the lender on the money borrowed. So next question that arises is, very quickly, I am taking a short pause here. Any idea why that interest which is paid by the issuer of the bond to the buyer of the bond or the investor of the bond is called coupon? It is interest only, keep that in mind. Don't get confused. The interest paid by the borrower to the lender, borrower of money to the lender of money, in case of bond market is called coupon. But the question that we are discussing now is, when it is interest that is being paid, for example, when you take a loan from a bank, bank tells you this is the principal and this is the interest that you will have to pay. So it is interest that you are paying because you borrowed money from a bank. In our case, the issuer of the bond also is borrowing money and he's paying interest. But why that interest is called coupon? What is this terminology?
It's given yearly for the person who is actually holding it at that particular time.
Yearly, correct. Yearly, or it could be semi-annual also. It's possible that the borrower, that is the issuer of the bond, who is the borrower of money, may be paying semi-annual or maybe annual, as you are saying. That's up to the issuer of the bond to decide. But the relevance of that word coupon is somewhere else. It's something like this. What used to happen was, if you go back, say, about 40, 50 years, then at that time, all the bonds were in the physical form. That is, suppose if you purchased an L&T bond, Larsen and Toubro issued a bond, and you took it, you purchased it, you gave money to L&T, L&T gave you the bond. What will happen in that case, 40 years or 50 years back was, you will get a physical paper, which will be the bond. On top, it will be typed L&T. Your name will be there, saying that you are the holder of this bond. And if it was a 10-year bond, along with that physical paper, which was a bond, you will get 10 more coupons, physical paper coupons, 10 more coupons along with the bond. What you had to do was, when the first interest payment date comes closer, you have to detach the first coupon and send it to the issuer. When you sent the coupon to the issuer, that was the confirmation for the issuer that you are a bondholder. And on receipt of that first coupon, the bond issuer will make payment of interest to you. When second interest payment date comes closer, you have to send the second coupon to the issuer and you will get the payment of interest from the issuer. So one bond and 10 coupons because it was a 10-year bond. Because you had to detach the coupon and send it to the issuer for collecting the interest from the issuer, that interest itself came to be known as coupon. That's the reason for it, as to why it is called coupon. But now many bonds are in demat form, dematerialized electronic entry in your demat account. You don't get any physical paper, so you don't get any coupons also these days. But the practice still continues. Practice still continues. As say, habits die hard. So this practice is still continuing. We are still calling it coupon, although these days there is no coupon, but we call it coupon. So that's coupon, interest on the bond that you will receive. There is another term which is there. It says yield, Y-I-E-L-D, which is different or which can be different from the coupon. So what we are going to do is, we will take an example over here. Difference between coupon and yield. Are you able to see an example on your screen right now? Let me just check with you. It says difference between coupon and yield.
Yes, we can see.
You can see, very good. Very nice. Okay, then take a look here. This will make it clear to you as to what is the difference between coupon and yield. And before we proceed, we must have a good idea about this. Otherwise, there will be confusion. What is coupon? What is yield? Here. And there are some questions that you may have to think about and answer. Here is an example. 1st Jan 2020, you have purchased a bond issued by L&T, Larsen and Toubro, for 100. That 100 means face value of the bond is 100. Very, very simply put, you are going to give 100 rupees to L&T on 1st Jan 2020, and L&T is going to issue a bond to you. So you are a bond holder, you paid 100 to L&T. For one bond, you have to pay 100. Details are as follows. Face value is 100. That means the money that you have to give to L&T for taking the bond from L&T. That means you are lending 100 rupees to L&T. Keep it very simple. You have lent 100 rupees to L&T and L&T gave you a bond saying that, okay, this is your bond. Coupon is 10%. That means interest on the bond is 10% per annum. And it's a 2-year bond. That means it's going to mature on 1st of Jan 2022. So now on 1st of Jan 2020, you are a holder of this bond. What will happen on 1st Jan 2021? Let's understand. And Dr. Vinod's question about what is the risk in the bond, that also will partially get addressed over here. On 1st Jan 2021, you will collect the first coupon because this is a 2-year bond. After first year, you are going to get 10% of 100, which is 10. So you collect the coupon 10 because it is due to you since you are the holder of the bond. Thereafter, after collecting this coupon of 10, you want to sell the bond to me. And as I mentioned to you, there is a secondary market. Secondary market means a market in which you can trade. When you sell or buy shares on the stock exchange, that's called secondary market. Primary market is the one where the bonds or shares are issued. That is called primary market. Trading happens in the secondary market. So now this is secondary market. 1st Jan 2021. You collected the first year's coupon or the interest, and after collecting it on that very day, 1st Jan 2021, you want to sell the bond to me. I am interested, so we are talking. Two of us are talking. When you are suggesting to me that you want to sell your bond to me at 100, that means I should buy from you at 100. I have the following information with me on that very day, 1st Jan 2021. Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, BHEL, another company which is in the same industry as L&T, is issuing a 1-year bond. Let's not, although 1 year cannot be a bond because 1 year you have to use some other name because it's a money market instrument. If the tenor is less than 1 year or up to 1 year, and if the company is borrowing money, then we don't call it a bond. It's known as CP, commercial paper, but I don't bother about that right now. Let's call it a bond. On 1st Jan 2021, BHEL is issuing a bond for 1 year only. And these are the details of the BHEL bond. BHEL is going to take 100 rupees from anybody who wants to buy the bond because they are issuing a bond on 1st Jan 2021. Their interest is 12%. Coupon is 12%. And it's exactly 1 year bond. That means this BHEL bond, BHEL is Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, another company. Their bond will mature on the same date as the L&T bond which you have purchased. Go up. You had purchased a 2-year bond on 1st Jan 2020. So that bond was going to mature on 2022. And this bond, which is going to be issued by BHEL on 1st Jan 2021, it is for 1 year. So that is also going to mature on 1st Jan 2022. Now, please think about it for a minute and tell me the answer. My question is here. With this information that I have, will I agree to buy your L&T bond at 100? Because on 1st Jan 2021, let's go back in case if there is too much information that is coming your way. It's like this. Let me make it clear. You purchased L&T bond on 1st Jan 2020. It's for 2 years. Every year you get 10% interest. That means 1st Jan 2021, you will get 10 because 10% of 100, 10. And on 1st Jan 2022, as far as your L&T bond is concerned, you will get back 110 on 1st Jan 2022 as far as L&T bond is concerned, because second year's interest 10 and the principal 100 that you lent to L&T, that also will come back to you. Okay, so therefore now the question is, on 1st Jan 2021, when you are wanting to sell that bond to me for 100, I have this information that on 1st Jan 2021, BHEL has issued a bond for 1 year. Their face value also is 100. Coupon is 12%. Maturity is the same as your bond maturity, 1st Jan 2022. So, will I buy your bond at 100? And Nisha has already said no. Who else is saying, say, oh, correct. Dr. Vinod is also saying no. Correct. I will not buy your bond at 100. Because take a look at it from my point of view. I can give that same bond same money, 100 I can give to whom? I can give to BHEL. On 1st Jan 2021, if I give 100 to BHEL, after a year, I am going to get back 112 because BHEL is going to give 12% interest. So on 1st Jan 2021, I give 100 to BHEL, I get back 112 after a year, that means on 1st Jan 2022. If I give you 100 for buying your L&T bond, then the maturity value of your bond, L&T bond, is 110 because your bond L&T is giving me only 110. They are giving 10% interest only. Therefore, if I give you 100 on 1st Jan 2021 and buy your L&T bond, I get 110 after a year. If I give that same 100 to BHEL, I get back 112 after a year. Why should I lose 2? I don't want to lose 2, and both are equally good companies. L&T and BHEL, both are equally good companies. That is important. It's an apple-to-apple comparison. L&T, BHEL. So I will not buy your L&T bond. Fantastic. Abhishek is saying that you will not pay me price more than 97 or 98 of the bond with face value 100. Correct. Correct. I will have to pay something less than 100. I will not pay you 100 because otherwise I will lose 2. But suppose if I am very keen, somehow I have got some great fancy for Mr. Naik L&T. So what should I tell you? I want to buy your bond, but not at 100 obviously. What I will have to do is, and what you also will have to think about it is, now think about it. Now this is the important aspect in bond market trading. If market is giving me 12% return today, because BHEL is giving me 12% return on 1st Jan 2021 for 1 year bond. That means so for 1 year, I am getting 12% return from BHEL. If I am getting 12% return from your bond, then I'm okay. Because then I can say, okay, I have got 2 instruments. One is BHEL, wherein I am getting 12%. And there is L&T bond on which also I can get 12%. Then I can decide which one to buy. But the next question that arises is, what is the calculation now for me to get 12% return on your bond, L&T bond? Because if I give you 100 and L&T gives me 110 after a year, then it's a 10% return for me. I have to price your bond in such a way that I will get 12% return on L&T bond, and it's a very, very simple calculation. This is an Excel, and we all have studied this maybe in the 8th and 9th standard. That, okay, let me just here put something here first. I'm putting that formula here, just for our understanding, nothing else. We all know this formula. It's called PV, present value of any future amount. Now, our future amount, okay, we'll come to our future amount. Let's see the formula first. Present value of any given future amount is equal to future value. FV stands for future value divided by into bracket 1 plus I. I is for interest. So let's make it small I. 1 plus I means interest, raised to, this is raised to N. N means the number of years. How many years? How do we capture the information here? Let's put our information here. Now equal to the information that we have. We are pricing your L&T bond. L&T bond. So L&T bond is having how much future value? We are right now on 1st Jan 2021. That's the day on which we are talking all this. And your bond is going to mature after a year. And after a year, the amount is going to be 110. Because 110 is what anybody who is having the bond will be getting from L&T on 1st Jan 2022. So 110 is the future value of your bond. Next, sorry, into bracket. 1 is 1. Now that plus I is the interest. I is the current interest rate in the market for 1 year. And what is the current interest rate in the market for 1 year? It is 12%. Because today, this is the latest, today's interest rate for 1 year. So today in the market for 1 year, BAIL is giving you 12%. That means this is the interest rate in the market today for 1 year. So that is the I. It is 12%. 12% means 12 upon 100. 12 upon 100 means 0.12. So therefore 1 plus 0.12. So 1.12. 1.12 bracket over and raised to 1 because it's only 1 year. The 12%, 110 is what we are going to get after a year. So this information simply you can solve on the Excel. So we saw this 110 divided by into bracket 1.12. That bracket not required, but it doesn't matter. We'll put it over there because it's only 1 year raised to 1. 110 upon 1.12 raised to 1. 98.21. Already Abhishek has put this 5 minutes earlier. I'm just solving it, but Abhishek has already answered all this about 5 minutes earlier on the chat. So 98.21 will be the value of your bond in the market, which means if anybody wants to buy or sell the L&T bond here, this L&T bond, anybody wants to buy or sell on 1st Jan 2021, in view of all this information about the BAIL bond in the market, that bond, that is L&T bond, will be priced at 98.21. This is a very, very simple bond market arithmetic calculation as to how do you price a bond. Basically, you bring it all future cash flows that you are going to get by way of coupon and the principal on maturity. All that you bring it to the present value by considering today's interest rate for the residual period of the bond. So that's what we did. This therefore establishes a very simple principle in the bond market. And that principle is there is an inverse relationship between interest rate and the bond price. Inverse relationship between interest rate and bond price. Higher the interest rate in the market, lower will be the bond price. Lower the interest rate in the market, higher will be the bond price. Now that can be easily seen from this example. What is the coupon on the L&T bond? 10%. What is the interest in the market now? 12%. That means in the market, the interest rates have gone higher, and therefore the price in the secondary market has fallen below the face value. Face value was 100, but you will not get 100 from anybody. 100 is the money that you gave to L&T. But you will not get back 100 now because the value of your bond is now only 98.21. On the other hand, suppose instead of this, BAIL issuing bond at 12%, suppose if they had issued 1 year bond on 1st Jan 2021 at 8%. 8 means 8 upon 100, which means 0.08. So that 0.12 will become 0.08. If they had issued the bond at 8%, that means interest rates have gone lower now. Then take a look what would have happened to your bond. It will be going above 100. Yeah. Now it will be 101.85. Because in the market, the rate of interest is 8%. So your bond is also priced at 8% for 1 year. Which means the bond prices in the secondary market can fluctuate. They can move up, they can move down. And in the share market, when you are trading, perhaps you need to understand a lot of things as far as share market trading is concerned. What are these lot of things? Something like how the economy is doing, which sectors are doing well in the economy. Now, if suppose cement sector is doing very well, how many companies are there in that sector? Which are the top companies there? What is their order book? What were their sales over the last 5 years? What are their projections of profit for the next 5 years? All that you will have to understand and then take a call on which share to buy, which share not to buy, etc. But when you are a trader in the bond market, you actually need to focus on only one thing. That is, whether interest rates are likely to go up or interest rates are likely to go down. If you are a good judge of interest rates, if you can anticipate interest rates, then you can be a very good bond trader. Anticipation, keep in mind, after the event, there is no point. After the rates have gone up or gone down, then you will not be able to make any money in the bond market. If you are a trader, keep in mind first, if you are a trader, if you are not a trader at all. So if you are a trader in the bond market, we'll take a couple of examples of this bond trading. But before that, just to come back to Dr. Vinod's question earlier, what is the risk in the bond market? Now the first risk. First risk is an opportunity loss or opportunity cost. Now take a look what happened in this case. In this case, that is say you invested in the L&T bond. So for first year, you got 10%, fine. But in the second year, because BAIL is issuing a bond at 12%, in a way now, is your risk. You are losing money. Because had you not purchased a 2-year bond, then today, and had you purchased only 1-year bond on 1st Jan 2020, had you taken only 1-year bond, then on 1st Jan 2021, you could have invested your money, which you would have got back from your bond issuer if it was only 1-year bond at 12%. But now you are going to get 10% only for the second year, whereas in the second year, the rates have gone up already to 12%. So which means you cannot do anything about it. You are in a way losing money 2% for the second year because your bond is giving 10% only, whereas some other bond is giving 12% for 1 year. So therefore, that is one risk in the bond market, that you have already locked in your money for a longer period, but the rates have gone up. Therefore, that's a risk. But at the same time, keep in mind one more thing. If you purchase a long tenor bond, and thereafter, if the rates go down, for example, take a look at this. If this rate had gone to 8%, suppose if this rate had gone to 8%, as I'm typing there, then you would have been better off. Then it was a very good call on your part that you locked in your money at 10% already for 2 years. So now the rate goes down to 8%, very good. That means it was a good judgment. But now, therefore, the risk is after you purchase the bond, if the interest rate goes higher, then you are in a way having an opportunity cost. Now the opportunity loss, you could have got some higher interest rate, but you cannot because you already locked the money. But it cuts both ways. If the rates go down subsequently, okay, then you can be happy about it, that I already invested for a long period. If the rates go up, then you have to think, oh, I have unnecessarily invested. Like any other activity, if it comes in your favor, you feel okay, I made a good decision. If it goes against you, you feel, oh, it was not a good decision. So therefore, that's the risk. Let us just wait for a while for Mr. Vinod. I hope his doubt is clarified as to where is the risk. Dr. Vinod, are you okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So therefore, that is the coupon and yield. We already spoke about coupon and yield, and also we spoke a little bit about the bond trading as to how the bond prices fluctuate, how they go up and down based on the interest, purely based on the interest. So in the newspaper, as far as we are concerned here in India, when you read this, every 2 months, there is this RBI monetary policy announcement. In that RBI monetary policy announcement, the RBI governor will talk about increasing or decreasing the rates. That is, he's giving some signal to the market as to where are the rates heading in future. Are the rates likely to go up, or are the rates likely to go down? And one of the main instruments through which they give that signal is that repo reverse repo rate. So if the repo reverse repo is nothing but the interest rate that is applicable for a commercial bank for doing a borrowing and lending transaction with RBI. So if that rate is going higher, then overall the interest rate structure may go higher. If RBI is signaling that the rates are likely to go down, then maybe good news for you. Your bond prices can appreciate. But the problem is, after the RBI makes the announcement, there is no point in doing a trade, because by that time already market would have reacted. You will have to take a call. If you are a trader in the bond market, you will have to take a call. You will have to anticipate what is likely to happen in the monetary policy. Are the rates likely to go up, or are the rates likely to go down? Because once RBI announces it, then there is nothing left to be done. But then it's already done. You have to anticipate and act before it. If your anticipation comes good, excellent, you'll make money in bond trading. If it doesn't come good, maybe you'll lose money in bond trading. That is if you are a trader. But if you are saying that I am going to buy a bond and I am going to just keep it for the 5 years because I'm investing in a bond for 5 years, that's fine. Then only question that arises is, if after you invested money for 5 years in a bond and you are just going to keep it till maturity, if the rates go up, okay, bad luck for you in a way, because then you lost an opportunity to get higher interest. If the rates go down, you will be happy that I have already locked in money at higher rate. But in any case, you are going to keep it maturity. So from that point of view, it may not make any difference to you, because you are just keeping it at till maturity. So that's about something about how the bond prices move up and down. But okay, let's do one thing. Before we go ahead, let's check this out, whether our understanding is okay or not okay, or whatever we have spoken so far. So here is an example, and you will have to answer as to what you think about this. Example is this. Suppose, now all of you please think, suppose you have money with you. Let's put a number over there. You have got money with you 100 rupees, to keep the calculation very, very simple. You have got 100 rupees with you, cash, and you also have purchased a bond earlier, which is currently valued at 100. So you have a money with you 100, and you also have a bond with you, which is currently valued at 100. So you are having both, huh? Keep that in mind, money as well as bonds. You think that in the next 1 week or so, 1 week or 2 weeks, you think that rates will go up, because maybe RBI is likely to announce the monetary policy, and in the monetary policy, RBI is likely to give a signal that the interest rates are going to go higher. That's what you think. In that case, if you think that interest rate structure is likely to go higher in the next 1 or 2 weeks, what should we do today? Should you first buy more bonds with the money that you are having, or should you first sell the bond that you are having? What should you do first now? With this particular anticipation that in next 1 or 2 weeks, the interest rates are likely to go higher. That's your view.
Sell first.
Sell first. Correct. Let's just hear from others as well. Now we have got one already. Sell first. What are the others thinking? Let's hear from them. Or maybe you can come on chat. If you are having some difficulty in talking, then you can come on chat. Buy first or sell first? So far, no one there. Anything that comes to your mind, just apply some thought, apply some logic to whatever, as per whatever we have discussed so far, that interest rates are likely to go higher in the near future. What happens when the interest rates go higher? As we spoke about earlier, when interest rates go higher, the bond price falls. We already took an example for this. So as he said just now, that's correct. You should sell first, because if you think the rates are likely to go up, that means when they go up, actually the bond price will fall down. Right now, the bond price has not fallen. It will fall in future once the rates go up. So today itself, you can sell the bond that you are having. And as per your expectation, when the rates come down, the bond price will come down. Sorry, when the rates go up. Sorry, my mistake. As per your expectation, when the interest rates go higher, the bond price will come down. At that time, you can buy back your bond, and you can buy also more bonds with the money that you are having. If you think that now the interest rates will not rise further and they have risen enough, that time you lock in your money for a longer period. So it's all based on, bond trading is based on nothing but interest rate expectations. What do you expect? Okay, now let's go ahead. Tenor of a bond. Now, what can be the tenor of a bond? Whenever a government is borrowing money and issuing a bond, or a company or an institution, financial institution, there is no restriction on the tenor. Tenor can be anything. It can be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, 50 years. In fact, in the international market, let me give some information. Some companies like Ford, the automobile, Ford, Coca-Cola, Walt Disney, in the American market, they have issued bonds for 100 years. 100 year is the tenor. And one Indian company also did the same thing. In the international market, they issued bond for 100 years. Any idea which company is this? Which Indian company issued a bond in the international market for 100 years? Any name that strikes you, that this could be the company? Tata's. Ankur says Tata's. Yeah, that name does come to mind quickly, but it is not Tata's. The company which is currently with the highest market capitalization in India, the company with the highest market cap is number of shares issued by a company multiplied by its current market price. That number which you get in the share market, that is total number of shares issued by the company multiplied by the current market price. When you do that calculation, the resultant number is called market capitalization of that company. Market capitalization is the full form. Short form is market cap. So that's the company with the highest market cap in India currently. Well, yeah, correct. Reliance, correct. Dr. Vinod is saying then Reliance, correct. Some years, I don't know which year, I think quite some time back, but Reliance issued a bond for 100 years. 250 million subscription offer for 100-year Reliance bonds. They raised, I think, 250 million, something more than 250 million. 100-year bond. Now, jara sochiye. Please think about it. As to what is the strategy, what is the plan of raising money for 100 years? Maybe they have got some plan. But it also means one thing. Neither the people who were initially involved in raising money, borrowing money, nor the people who were initially involved in lending money, that means they are the bondholders, will be around when the bond comes up for redemption. That is when the bond matures. The original investor and the original issuer both will not be around when the bond matures, because it's a 100-year bond. I doubt, I don't know, I really have no clue as to what is the plan for 100 years. When you raise money or when you lend money, 100-year ka plan kya hai? I don't know. Maybe there is something which is beyond my comprehension. That's fine. So they have raised 100-year bond. So tenor, there is no restriction. Just be ready for another surprise. You have 100 years. If it has surprised you, will the company be there? Correct. Correct. Dr. Vinod is saying, will the company be there? Of course, the investors have trust. That issue was fully subscribed. This 100-year Reliance issue was fully subscribed. International investors were very happy to lend money to Reliance for 100 years. Now be ready for a surprise. ये 100 year तो ठीक है. Think about this. 1,000-year bond. International market. This is not Indian. This is not Indian company. This is not Indian company. So don't bother too much about it. It's a holding company. There is Republic Bank of New York. This is the holding company of that Republic Bank of New York. I am not still getting a confirmation about this as to whether this bond was really issued or not issued. I'm not getting a confirmation, but there was this particular proposal. First ever 1,000-year bond is readied by Safra Republic. As I mentioned to you, that Safra Republic is a holding company for Republic National Bank of New York. But abhi sochiye, now think about it. There are people who are thinking about 1,000 years. I don't know how many generations by that time would have passed. कौन लेगा पैसा और कौन चुकाएगा, कौन देगा पैसा, किसे पैसा मिलेगा वापस, we don't know. 1,000-year bond. So what we are just trying to understand is that there is no restriction on the tenor. That's the point here. The point number 4, which says tenor can be anything. And as you already saw, 30, 50, 75, 100. I have not heard of anybody issuing. I heard that from that 100 year, it is directly 1,000 years. In between, शायद किसी को कुछ interest नहीं था. 400, 500 years. So I have 100 years, 1,000 years. Okay, that means tenor can be anything. Rating. Whenever you go to, sorry, not you go to, whenever any issuer wants to issue a bond, he has to go to the regulator for seeking their permission. Just as whenever a company wants to issue shares, the company has to go to the regulator, in our case SEBI, India, SEBI, SEBI, for getting the approval. So when you go to SEBI for getting the approval for your bond issue, that I want to raise 1,000 crore or whatever that amount may be, normally the regulator will ask you to get yourself rated. Rated means there are rating agencies. The rating agencies, there are quite a few. One of the popular rating agencies in India is this, what I am showing you right now, CRISIL. CRISIL is a rating agency. If I want to issue a bond, I means not individual, nobody will give money to me. I as a company, as in a company. So if I have a company, I want to raise money by issuing a bond. So SEBI will tell me, go to CRISIL and get yourself rated. CRISIL gives different types of ratings. Those are mentioned over here. If you see rating, if your company gets AAA rating, which is mentioned here, AAA rating, and it's described here what is meant by AAA. That means CRISIL is telling the whole world when they give you AAA rating that this is a very, 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 very sound and safe company. There won't be any risk for the investor. This company will pay coupon money on time. They will pay you principal back on time. So your money is safe. In fact, in the financial market, after the government, the next safest institution is called a company with AAA rating, or any institution with a AAA rating. They are considered to be next best. Government is supposed to be the safest because government is not supposed to default. Therefore, they are considered to be the safest. But after that, CRISIL. Now, something which is not there anywhere, but let's for our understanding, understand this. The rate at which the government borrows money by issuing a bond, say Indian government recently, as an example, raised money for 10 years and they paid an interest of 8%. So government borrowed money for 10 years and their interest rate was 8%. This 8% is called a risk-free rate for 10 years in India. Tomorrow or sometimes in future, during any of your conversation with your friends, if this question comes up, somebody asks you a question, what is the risk-free rate in India? Don't get confused. What is meant by risk-free rate in India is at what rate the government is borrowing money for that particular period. That risk-free rate will be according to the tenor. Right? It's not just one rate. Risk-free rate for 5 years. Risk-free rate for 8 years. Risk-free rate for 10 years. That means what is the interest rate that government is paying for that particular period? That's called the risk-free rate for that particular tenor. And triple A rated company, abhi ek example li, ek simple example we'll take. Suppose Government of India has recently borrowed money by issuing a bond for 5 years, and they paid 8% for 5 years. That means risk-free rate is 8% for 5 years. So government is borrowing at 8% for 5 years now, recently. L&T, Larsen and Toubro, wants to issue bonds for 5 years. And L&T says that like government, we will also pay 8% for 5 years. Government is paying 8% interest for 5 years. L&T says that we will also pay 8% for 5 years and we'll also issue bond like government. Now, I'm waiting for your answer to this. Will you give money to L&T or government? There are two bonds. Government, right? You will say, I will give money to government. Why are you giving to government? Because you will say, government is supposed to be risk-free. If government is giving 8% for 5 years, L&T may be a very solid, strong company, but as compared to government, it is more risky. So why should I give money to L&T when I can get the same interest rate from the government? So therefore, nobody will give money to L&T in our example. Then what L&T has to do to get money? L&T has to give something more. Give something more means give something more in form of interest. So therefore, L&T now realizes that becomes the starting point. When L&T or any company wants to raise money for a 5-year period or 8-year or 10-year or 15-year, first they will have to see what is that risk-free rate, because that's the base, that's the rate at which government is borrowing. And on top of that, how much we will have to pay by way of interest in order to attract the money. So suppose government is borrowing money for 5 years at 8%. L&T has to pay 10% for 5 years. Then that 2% which L&T is paying extra over and above what the government is paying is known as credit spread of L&T. Credit spread of L&T. That means L&T has to pay 2% more than what the government is paying, because that's what market is demanding from L&T. Stronger the company, lower will be the credit spread. Weaker the company, higher will be the credit spread. So L&T is a AAA rated company, so they will pay 2. Now go down. Below AAA there is AA. Here, AA. That means as compared to AAA, AA companies are more risky. That's what the rating agencies say. As compared to AA, single A are more risky. It is going down. As we go down, the risk is increasing. Higher the risk, lower the rating. Lower the rating, higher the credit spread. So if there is a company which is rated, say here, BBB. If a company is rated BBB, and if they want to raise money for 5 years, go back to the beginning. Government is paying 8% for 5 years. L&T had to pay 10% for 5 years. How much BBB rating will have to? BBB rated company will have to pay. Less than 8%, more than 8%, less than 10%, more than 10%. What is your thought?
More than 10.
More than 10, correct. Because now the credit spread is more. Weaker the rating, higher the credit spread. So AAA rated company L&T is paying 2% above the government borrowing rate. But BBB rated company may have to pay 4% above the government borrowing rate. So there could be 8, which is the risk-free rate, plus 4. They may have to pay 12. That's all about, that's the rating, because there are different types of rating. As you go down, 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 the worst rating that you can get is called D. That's the worst. D means default. The rating agency is saying that either this company is already defaulting on its other obligations, or this is likely to default in future. Which means normally if a company gets D rating, it will be very, very difficult for the company to raise money. And if at all they get money, the interest that they may have to pay will be very, very high. So generally the nomenclature is AAA, the best, that is the best company, and D, very, very risky company. That's how the rating. But this rating becomes mandatory. When you want to raise money like this, the the regulator will tell you that get yourself rated. Now, rating agency is an external party. It's a third party. So who is supposed to do an independent job and give a fair assessment? They have to analyze properly and then communicate to the whole world that this is the rating that we have given. So the rating. So the tenor can be anything, rating is required, then fixed and floating rate bond. Now, as the name itself indicates, fixed and floating. Fixed rate bond is a bond wherein the issuer is fixing the rate. Okay, Dr. Vinod is asking, is there any cap on interest? No, there is no cap on interest. You can pay any interest that you want. But the higher, keep in mind one thing, Dr. Vinod, higher the interest that a company decides to pay, maybe some people may get attracted that, okay, this company is paying very high rate of interest. But also keep in mind, very high rate of interest also means that the company is very risky. But there is no cap. You can pay whatever you want. Okay, so now fixed and floating rate bond. Fixed rate bond is a bond wherein the issuer, like let's take an example. Let's take a live example. Live means, yeah, okay, yeah, let's take this example. This is actually a bond which is issued by SBI. Let's understand this bond and then we'll connect to that fixed rate floating rate. This is a 10.45% coupon, that is the interest. State Bank of India, which is maturing on 16 March 2026, issued on 16 March 2011. Face value of the bond is 10,000. That means if you want to take one bond, you will have to give 10,000 rupees to SBI and they will give you one bond. Right? That's what is meant by face value in a very, very simple term. Issue size means totally there is 828.32 crore. Interest is payable annually. Now there is one thing that I think I missed on top. On top there is something called two terms where there: indenture and covenant. I'll come back to this very quickly. That point number 2 here, if you look at, it says indenture and covenant, which I missed. So indenture means the agreement between the bond issuer and the bond investor. That means the company and the bondholder. So they actually, whenever we buy a bond from a company, if it is a company, then there is an agreement between us and the company. That agreement is known as indenture. There are various terms and conditions in that agreement. Those terms and conditions are called covenants. For example, this is an example. Company says that we will give you 10.45% coupon. That means one of the conditions that interest will be 10.45%. Bond will mature on 16th of March 2026. That means one of the terms that this bond will mature on 16th of March 2026. All such terms and conditions which are mentioned in that agreement are called covenants. C-O-V-E-N-A-N-T-S, covenants. And the entire agreement is called indenture. Those were the two terms on top. So come back to this bond now. 10.45% State Bank of India bond issued on 16 March 2011. That means it's a 15-year bond. It's maturing on 16th of March 2026. Interest payable annually. Call option to redeem the bond after 10 years. We are talking about floating rate and fixed rate. So first of all, let's concentrate only on that floating and fixed. So this is a fixed rate bond. That means they are giving 10%, 10.45% coupon only for 15 years. That means every year you will get 10.45% on that 10,000. If you purchase one bond, then 10.45% on 10,000. If you purchase 10 bonds, then 10 into 10,000 will be 1 lakh, then 10.45% of 1 lakh. That's what they are going to get. That means that's what investors are going to get. It is known as fixed rate bond. But then there is also something called floating rate bond. Floating rate bond is the one wherein the issuer is not fixing the rate upfront. They are saying that whatever is some other external benchmark rate, that is what will pay you for that year. Today, we are not telling you what will be the year, what will be the coupon. So I think I also may have here something about floating rate bond. Here. Now come back to floating rate bond. This is recently our government launches floating rate bond. Now don't be misguided by that 7.15% because it looks like a fixed rate bond, because 7.15 is fixed. That's not fixed. So government of India has recently issued a floating rate bond. What they are saying is, for the first year, they have just fixed that rate of 7.15. That for the first year, we are going to pay you 7.15%. But for all subsequent years, they are telling you, if you invest in this bond, that whatever is the national savings certificate rate at that time, that is what will pay you for that particular year. So currently in this bond, what they have done is, if you say there must be some structure here, all these are terms and conditions. Okay, maybe this is actually Government of India notification for that bond. What you are seeing is Government of India notification for that bond. If you come down here, there are lots of things over there. Let's not get into all that. We are going to talk about interest. Here, take a look here. This is government notification for that bond, floating rate bond. Interest is floating. The interest on the bond will be payable at half-yearly intervals from the date of issue in terms of something, as the case may be. And somewhere they are saying here, if you take a look here, what they are saying is the coupon interest of the bond would be reset half-yearly. That means every half year they will reset the interest. It is not fixed. And how they will reset? They are saying that if you pay attention over here, whatever is the prevailing national savings certificate, NSC, whatever is the NSC rate at that point in time, plus 35 BPS means basis points, and each basis point is 0.01%. 1 basis point means 0.01%. So 35 basis points means 0.35%. So therefore, they have already fixed it for the first 6-month period. What they are saying is for the first 6-month period, the current NSC rate is 6.8 and add to that 0.35. So 7.15 is what they are going to pay you for the first 6 months. Then what they are saying is for the next 6 months, we will see what is the NSC rate. If it is a 7% at that time, so it will be 7% plus 0.35, you will get 7.35. Or if it is 6.5% at that time, it will be 6.5 plus 0.35, that means 6.85. That's what you will get. If this is the case, it's called floating rate bond. That means interest is not fixed for the entire tenor of the bond. In case of that SBI bond here that we saw, 10.45% is fixed. So for 15 years, because this is a 15-year SBI bond, every year you will get 10.45%. But in case of that Government of India floating rate bond, which is for 7 years, that Government of India bond is for 7 years. So therefore, they are saying only for the first 6 months, we are giving you this rate. Next 6 months, whatever is the NSC rate at that time, that is what we give you. So it becomes a floating rate bond. So fixed rate, floating rate, different types of bonds that you can have. I don't know whether we still have time. Let me just check with Anil sir. Anil sir, do we have time or should we close it here? It's
you have absolute time. And as I said, if you wish, you can continue on Wednesday also. But as I said,
Wednesday I may not be around. But how much time do we have now today? Another 10.
You can take your time. I can see there's a lot of interaction. So please continue.
Okay. All right. So therefore, that was fixed and floating rate bond. Then there is something like a zero coupon bond. What is meant by zero coupon bond is the issuer of the bond tells you that you pay me 700 today. This is an example. This will not be the exact amount. I'm just giving an example. The issuer of the bond will tell you that give me 700 today, and after 5 years, I will pay you back 1,000. You pay one time to the issuer pays you back one time. In the intermittent period of 5 years, you don't get any coupon. Everything is built into the maturity value. So one time money given 700 to the issuer today, after 5 years, issuer gives you back 1,000. So it can be any tenor. I'm just saying 5 years. It can be any tenor. It can be 10 years, it can be 1 year, it can be 5 years. So zero coupon, because regular coupon is not there on that bond. Don't come to the conclusion that zero coupon means I will not get any interest at all. If that is the case, why will anybody give the money to the issuer if you are not getting any interest? You are going to get the interest, but it is at maturity, at the end of the period. That's called zero coupon. Then let's go to the next one. 3 types of bonds that you will come across. One is domestic bond. The other one is foreign bond, and third one is masala bond. Masala bond is the name that we have given in India. We'll understand the meaning of it. Domestic bond means a company issuing a bond in the country itself. Like if Reliance issues a bond in India, it will be called a domestic bond. Because Indian company, domestic company within India is called a domestic bond. Like that SBI bond, for example. If you saw this SBI bond, that will be called a domestic bond. This is a domestic bond. Because Indian company issuing in the country. A Japanese company issuing in Japan will be also a domestic bond. Then there is something called foreign bond. Foreign bond is the one wherein a company goes abroad. Let's say Reliance. Take that same example. Reliance 100-year bond. How was that bond issued? It was issued in the New York market and it was denominated in dollar. That means Reliance went to US outside the country. You go outside your country and raise money in a foreign country in a foreign currency. So Reliance raised, as you saw there, if quickly if I have not removed it from there, yeah. If you see this, $250 million subscription for 100-year Reliance bond. That means money raised by an Indian company in the foreign currency by going to New York or the US market. If that is the case, it's called foreign bond. So domestic bond means money raised within the country. Foreign bond means you go outside and raise money in the foreign currency. And the last one, masala bond. Masala bond is a name that we have given in India. Otherwise, these kind of bonds are known as Euro bonds. Universally, they are known as Euro bonds, but we call them masala bond. Let's understand what is the meaning of this. It means, masala bond, that an Indian company like Reliance goes to New York, but raises money in rupees, not in foreign currency. Difference between foreign bond and masala bond is, in both cases, similarity between foreign and masala is, in both cases you are going outside the country and raising money from foreigners. But the difference is, in case of foreign bond, you are raising money in foreign currency. In case of masala bond, you are raising money in your own currency, Indian rupees. So if Reliance goes to US and raises money in rupees, that means all those American guys give rupees to Reliance, that will be called a masala bond. But if it is raised in dollar, it will be called a foreign bond. We have had quite a few cases of masala bond, and those are the examples here. If you want to just quickly check. Yeah. IFC, International Finance Corporation, 2 billion rupees raised in the year 2014, masala bond. Because our company went outside India and raised money. HDFC, they raised 3,000 crore rupees in July 2016, masala bond. Yes Bank, 3.15 billion, masala bond, April 2017. NTPC, 2,000 crore raised in April 2017. These companies basically went to US market and raised money in Indian rupees. So you go outside your country and raise money in your domestic. The big difference from the risk point of view, चलिए आप जरा सोचिए और मेरे को बताइए, what is the difference in this? In both cases, you are going abroad. The company is going outside the country. And as I mentioned to you, foreign bond means you are raising money in foreign currency. Masala bond means you are raising money in your own currency. There is some difference regarding the risk.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Devaluation of rupee.
Correct. Because it's the currency fluctuation that will create a problem in the foreign bond. Because what happens is, in the case of foreign bond, you are at risk. You means the company which is raising money. The company that is raising money is at risk. Because take a look, Reliance went abroad, raised money, $250 million, brought those dollars into India, converted into rupees for meeting their rupee requirements in India. When the time comes to pay the coupon as well as the principal on maturity, they will have to convert rupees back into dollars. So the rupee fluctuation can move against them. Now, very quickly, although our topic is not on foreign currency, I'm making a statement. Tell me whether right or wrong. If an Indian company has gone for a foreign bond, then rupee appreciation is a risk. That is the risk for the company which is issuing the bond.
It's an advantage.
Correct. Rupee appreciation will be an advantage. Correct. Rupee appreciation in case of foreign bond will be an advantage, and rupee depreciation will be a disadvantage. So that currency risk is there for the issuer of the company in a foreign bond. Whereas in masala bond, that risk is transferred to the investor. Because take a look at masala bond. Masala bond is in rupees. So a US investor will have to convert his dollars into rupees first and then give it to the Indian company, saying that here are the rupees, because he has to pay in rupees in case of masala bond. So which means when the rupees are paid back by the issuing company to the investor on maturity, that investor will have to once again convert it from rupees into dollars. So exchange rate risk in case of masala bond is with the investor. In case of foreign bond, it is with the issuer. That is the difference between the two. Okay, Abhishek is saying something. Let's see what he's putting something on there. Can you cover bond to shares? Yeah, can you convert bond to shares? Sorry. Yeah, there is something called convertible bonds. So there are convertible bonds. So in the indenture, that is the agreement, the company says very clearly that although the original tenor of the bond is 10 years, as an example only, The company may say original tenure of the bond is 10 years, but after 4 years, if the bondholder wishes to convert, he can convert the bond into shares. Some numbers will be there as to one bond can be converted into how many shares, etc. And the call is to be taken by the investor in that case, not by the company, because company gives you that particular freedom, saying that you decide whether you want to convert or you don't want to convert. So you can have a bond wherein company may tell you that after 4 years, original bond period 10 years. After 4 years, you have a choice as a bond holder or a bond investor. If you want to convert, you convert into shares. If you do not want to convert, you continue as a bond. And sometimes companies give one more choice, saying that after 4 years, if you neither want to convert nor want to continue, then you can ask for redemption. We'll pay you the money back to you after 4 years. You can have all these possibilities. Abhishek, so does this answer your question, Abhishek?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the 10th point we already covered. So the last point, 9th one, bond with call and put options. Bond with call and put options is, I think somewhere was it here? Somewhere bond with a call option. Yeah. So that this is State Bank of India. Okay. Take a look. Huh? This 10.45% State Bank of India bond, which is issued for 15 years on 16 March 2011, has got one particular covenant here. It says call option to redeem the bond after 10 years. That means after 10 years, when will it be after 10 years? The issue, it was issued on 16 March 2011. That means on 16th March 2021, there will be some window of about 5 days or so, wherein you means the bond, call option is one wherein the issuing company, the issuer has a right to repay the money back to the bond investor. That's called call option. Original period, 15 years. Let me again repeat what I said. Original period of the State Bank of India bond is 15 years, 15. But in the indenture, there is a covenant. In the agreement itself, there is a covenant wherein SBI is saying that after 10 years, we means SBI will have a right to return the money to the bond holder. That means they will pay you back 10,000. Face value is 10,000. They will pay you back 10,000 if they want on 16 March 2021. That's called call option. Call means the issuer has a right to return the money to the bond investors after a specified period. The bond may not run its entire course. Call option. If that option is given by the issuer to the investor, for example, in this case, there is no put option. It says here in that particular SBI issue, there is no put option. Put option not specified. Put option will mean that the issuer is telling the bondholder that you have a right to demand the money back from the issuer after a specified period. So if this was a put option, then the investors would have a right to demand 10,000 back from SBI on 16th March 2021, that is after 10 years. So put option gives a choice to the investor to demand the money back from the issuer before maturity. Before maturity means when all that is specified in the agreement. Call option gives that right to the issuer, saying that I have a right to return the money to you before maturity. So that will be a call and put option. Yeah, those were the points that I wanted to cover today. So we have covered all the points now. So we'll stop here in case you are having any query or so. I'm here, no problem at all. How do we close? We'll just close?
No, you have to just wait and just watch the chat for 2 minutes, and then they have already started.
Okay, all right.
Great session. Amazing session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So
my pleasure.
I have already written it's yet another amazing session. Stock market made simpler. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ullas sir. Thank you.
Thank you.